Have you ever stopped to think that maybe you don't even know who you are anymore? Sounds dramatic, right? But just look at the life we live today. Fragmented, rushed, anxious. A life where every move, every choice, every breath feels like it needs someone else's approval. A life where we wake up, and the first thing we do is search for a reflection. Not in the mirror, but through a screen. And you know what's crazier? Social media promised connection, but delivered anxiety, promised freedom, but chained us to the fear of being forgotten. The truth nobody tells you is that the real crisis we're facing isn't about productivity or success or endlessly reinventing yourself. It's a crisis of identity, a silent existential anguish that steals your peace while you pretend everything's fine. So today, I want to invite you to something different. Not another 10 steps to happiness list, but a real journey. A journey back home, back to yourself. Guided by the ancient wisdom of a man who understood this despair long before Instagram was even a thought, Kierkegaard. So, take a deep breath. Get ready. Because what you're about to hear might be uncomfortable. It might poke at old wounds. But it could also be the first step to reclaiming something you didn't even realize you lost. Your own life. Have you ever looked at your own profile and barely recognized yourself? Kierkegaard once said that the greatest despair is wanting to be someone you're not. And here we are, living a life of social media and anxiety, putting on digital armor every single day, every edited photo, every calculated caption, every forced smile. It feels harmless at first, but slowly, it eats you alive. Who would you be if no one was watching? When life becomes an endless performance, even breathing starts to feel like acting. And the cruelest part? We barely notice how trapped we are inside this invisible play. Crazy thing is, it didn't used to be this way. Being yourself was enough to exist. Now, it feels like you have to build yourself to be accepted. The crisis of identity creeps in like a shadow, following every like, every comment, every view. Life on social media has turned existence into a non-stop marketing campaign. And by the end of the day, when the phone goes dark, the emptiness screams louder than all the notifications combined. It's not just tiredness. It's modern despair knocking at your door. The exhausting part is how invisible it all feels. Keeping up appearances is like swimming while wearing a soaked coat. At first you think you're strong enough, but little by little, the weight drags you down. Social media and anxiety walk hand in hand because every new post thins the line between who I am and who I need to be. If you feel like you're constantly acting, take a deep breath. You're not broken. You're reacting to a culture that demands we turn our identity into a product. When existential anxiety creeps in, your mind whispers, maybe if you were just a little more interesting, they'd love you more. And without noticing, you're running a race that has no finish line. Kierkegaard would recognize this. The more you abandon your real self, the deeper you dive into despair. It's a cruel, addictive cycle, one we feed daily with filters, reels, and silent comparisons. Comparison is the silent killer. You see someone's highlight reel, their travels, their perfect relationships, their wins, and you forget that it's just a curated illusion. Behind every glossy post is a life as messy as yours. And yet, stuck between what we see and what we feel, true anxiety is born. Feeling behind, less than, not enough. This isn't weakness. It's the natural symptom of measuring yourself against an illusion. So how do we break free? You don't have to quit social media. It's about how you use it. Instead of consuming to compare, consume to inspire. Instead of posting for validation, post for expression. Try a conscious detox. Spend a week posting only what matters to you, without chasing likes. It's simple but revolutionary. Another small trick? Transform your feed. Unfollow people who trigger comparison. Follow artists, philosophers, scientists, Listen to Kierkegaard while walking in the park. Choose content that builds your soul, not fragments it. Little by little, you'll reclaim something priceless, the right to be yourself without permission. And maybe the real question isn't how to be seen, but how many versions of yourself you'll destroy before you dare to just be. But of course, comparison has even deeper roots than just insecurity. And that's exactly where we're headed next. And here's the sneaky part. Comparison doesn't just hit you with big milestones. It seeps into the tiny cracks of everyday life, your body, your mood, your follower count. You see someone laughing in a story and wonder why you're feeling so drained today. But no one posts their breakdowns. No one shows their silent tears in the bathroom after a bad day. Kierkegaard would call this existential anguish. The battle between who you are and who you think you need to be. And man, it cuts deeper than you realize. One mental trick that can help? Redefine your metrics of success. Instead of comparing yourself to what others have achieved, measure yourself by what you truly value. Need examples? If freedom matters to you, ask yourself, did I live more freely today? If growth is important, ask, did I learn something new today? Shifting your internal compass breaks the cycle of modern despair, and it gives your identity back its roots in your own soul, not someone else's highlight reel. Of course, it takes practice. No one unlearns years of scrolling overnight. Kierkegaard reminded us that change is not a switch. It's a slow, deliberate journey. So, be patient with yourself. Start by unfollowing accounts that drain you. Set real limits on your time online. Fill your feed with thinkers, artists, creators who make you feel whole instead of hollow. Above all, remember, no one truly posts their failures, but everyone carries them quietly. Have you ever noticed how comparison steals the joy even from your own victories? You reach a goal you once dreamed of, but then you see someone who's just a little more successful, a little more beautiful, a little more together, and suddenly, your own win feels small. That's the invisible trap of social comparison. The only way out is to turn inward, to anchor yourself back to your own values, your own timeline, your own truth. And maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't just the comparisons themselves. Maybe it's the overwhelming freedom to choose, the endless stream of possibilities that leaves us feeling stuck instead of empowered. And that, my friend, is exactly where we're headed next. Ever opened your phone to do something simple and found yourself drowning in a sea of endless possibilities? Kierkegaard would call that modern existential anxiety. In today's world of social media and anxiety, where attention is constantly shattered, we're bombarded with new options at every second. Every click opens a new road. Every post whispers about a life you could be living. A life better, faster, richer, freer. But when everything feels possible, something dark creeps in. The fear of choosing wrong. And that fear slowly paralyzes you. Think about it. When everything is urgent, nothing feels important. We're expected to be successful, fit, happy, enlightened, sustainable, and stylish, all at the same time. No wonder social media and anxiety feel like twin storms battering our minds. Kierkegaard knew that too much freedom without clarity doesn't create happiness. It breeds panic. Today, life on social media turns every moment into a hidden crossroads. You feel like you're always behind, always late, always missing out, even if you can't name exactly what you're missing. Here's the cruel twist. It's not your fault. The system was built for this. Apps, algorithms, platforms, they profit from your hesitation. The longer you're stuck in endless choices, the longer you stay online. The longer you stay online, the more valuable you are. When everything feels urgent, nothing truly moves you forward. That's why you scroll for hours and still feel empty. Want a simple rescue rope? When you feel trapped in indecision, stop, breathe, and ask, what actually matters to me right now? That single question can pull you out of the spiral. Let's make it real. Say you want to work on your mental health, but scrolling keeps derailing you. Instead of overhauling your entire life overnight, nutrition, sleep, meditation, therapy, start with one thing, just one. Maybe you commit to a 20-minute walk every morning. Maybe you promise yourself 5 minutes of real silence before bed. Kierkegaard would argue that great transformations begin with small, honest steps. Choosing one direction, however imperfect, is better than being crushed by infinite maybes. And trust me, no one is immune to this trap. Not the lifestyle bloggers, not the gurus with their endless advice. The difference is, some people learn to choose and own their choices. Others stay stuck, forever chasing the illusion of the perfect life that's always just one choice away. Kierkegaard reminds us that endless chase is just another way to avoid living. Every day you delay choosing, you delay being fully alive. Here's a little metaphor. Imagine sitting in a restaurant with an endless menu. At first, it's exciting. But after 20 minutes, you're overwhelmed. Every dish looks good, but none feels right. Afraid of choosing wrong, you don't choose anything. You leave hungry. Social media is that menu. Endless options, endless hunger. And the secret no one tells you? Real satisfaction comes not from having it all, but from choosing something and sinking into it fully. And maybe, just maybe, the root of this paralyzing fear isn't about options at all. Maybe it's about something deeper, something scarier. The slow, almost invisible process of forgetting who you really are in all this noise. And that's exactly what we need to uncover next. Have you ever felt like you're not really living your own life, but instead performing a script someone else wrote for you? Kierkegaard called it silent despair. The moment you start molding yourself to meet the world's expectations, forgetting who you really are. In today's life dominated by social media and anxiety, it's easier than ever to get lost. At first, it's just a photo. Then it's a caption adjusted for more likes. Then it's your dreams, your voice, your soul, edited to fit into someone else's idea of success. Until one day, you wake up and realize you've built a version of yourself you don't and even recognize. And it doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow erosion. You tweak your opinions here. You mute your real feelings there. You start choosing what to post, not based on what's true for you, but on what might get the best reaction. Social media and anxiety feed off this, because no number of likes can heal the fracture inside when you're not living your truth. Kierkegaard would say that emptiness you're feeling is not weakness. It's the echo of the self you've been asked to abandon. Trying to live for other people's approval is like living inside a funhouse of broken mirrors. Everywhere you turn, you see a distorted version of yourself. And the more you chase the right reflection, the further you drift from reality. Comparison social media worsens this distortion. You start adjusting your life not to your own inner compass, but to match someone else's filtered success. And eventually, you don't even know what your own dreams look like anymore. You just know you feel exhausted and unseen. So how do you start finding your way back? One small but radical act. Expose your real self intentionally. Post something that's imperfect. Share a thought that's raw, unpolished. Celebrate a victory that's personal, not performative. Kierkegaard taught that the road to authenticity begins with embracing your own absurdity, owning your flaws and contradictions without shame. Start with tiny acts of rebellion against perfection. You might be surprised by how freeing it feels. And the deepest wound of all, even after all the bending, shaping, adjusting, the love you receive doesn't satisfy, because it's not you they're loving. It's the mask. And deep down, your soul knows it. You end up surrounded by attention, but feeling invisible. You collect compliments, but feel emptier with each one. That's the cruel irony of living to be seen. You're seen, but never truly known. Here's a real-world exercise to rebuild yourself. Every time you consume content, ask yourself, Does this bring me closer to myself or pull me further away? Before you follow a new account, before you post a new photo, pause and listen. Kierkegaard would argue that being authentic is a daily choice, not about disconnecting from the world, but about staying connected to yourself within it. Each small moment of awareness pulls you back from the edge of becoming a stranger to your own life. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Reclaiming yourself always is. You'll lose some people. You'll disappoint expectations you didn't even know you were carrying. But the freedom that follows, the deep, quiet, untouchable freedom of being yourself, it's worth more than any applause. Because after you peel away all the layers the world asked you to wear, you're left with a deeper question. What do you do with the silence that remains? And that is exactly where our journey takes us next. Have you ever felt it? That quiet pull underneath all the noise? A whisper saying, "Hey, come back home." Kierkegaard believed true healing doesn't come from fixing the outside world. It begins with returning inward. And today, in an era consumed by social media and anxiety, that return has never been more urgent. Attention fragmentation drags us further and further from ourselves every day. But the way back still exists. It's not flashy, it's not instant, but it's real. Here's something no one warns you about. At first, the silence will terrify you. After spending so long running from yourself, distracting, scrolling, performing, being alone with your real thoughts can feel unbearable. Kierkegaard called this existential anguish, facing the truth of your existence without the crutches of external validation. But if you stay with that discomfort, if you resist the urge to escape, something amazing starts to happen. You begin to remember who you were before the world told you who you needed to be. Want a practice you can start today? Create small rituals of silence. 5 minutes in the morning, just breathing. A slow walk without your phone. A moment at sunset, just observing the sky. It sounds simple, but in today's chaotic world of social media, it's a revolutionary act. Kierkegaard knew that to find yourself, you first had to clear away the voices telling you who to be. Reclaiming those quiet moments helps rebuild your inner anchor, one breath at a time. Reclaiming yourself also means rebuilding your life outside of public validation. Remember, you don't owe the world a curated highlight reel of your existence. Not every joy needs a story. Not every dinner needs a post. Not every victory needs applause. A quiet moment reading in your living room. A real laugh with a friend. A thought that's just yours, whispered in the dark. These are the seeds of a whole life, even if no one ever clicks like. And yes, it's going to feel lonely at times. While the world rushes by, shouting louder, posting faster, performing harder, you'll feel like you're disappearing. But Kierkegaard would remind you, it's in that silence, that slowness, that the true self is reborn. Don't expect a sudden revelation. The return to yourself happens in small, stubborn moments of presence. Tiny daily decisions to choose being overperforming. Imagine it like an abandoned garden. Weeds everywhere, thorns, forgotten soil. And yet, if you clear just a small patch of earth, if you plant one seed, if you tend to it with patience, beauty returns. Not all at once, not easily, but inevitably. Kierkegaard would call that process the quiet victory over modern despair. And every act of authenticity is a rebellion against the noise. A practical suggestion? Pick one habit of presence to start cultivating. Maybe journaling, maybe yoga, maybe cooking a real meal without distractions, maybe starting your morning with a few pages of Kierkegaard, or a modern reflection like The Art of Stillness by Pico Iyer. Anything that anchors you back to yourself, anything that reminds you, you're allowed to exist outside of an audience. And perhaps, if you stay with this return, you'll discover a truth no algorithm can sell you. Freedom isn't having endless options. Freedom is choosing your life, consciously, courageously, even when no one else is watching. And if you think this is the end of the journey, oh, you have no idea. This is just the beginning. So tell me, how many versions of yourself will have to fall apart before you finally allow yourself to just be who you really are? How many times will you lose yourself in the scroll, in the noise, in the endless expectations, before you realize you already carry everything you're desperately seeking? Maybe you're tired of trying to fit in. Maybe you are exhausted from chasing after an ideal that keeps slipping away like sand through your fingers. And honestly, you don't have to live that way anymore. The life you deserve isn't built on external validation. It's built on inner reconnection. It's built on imperfect choices, uncomfortable silences, unapologetic authenticity. Now let me ask you, are you going to keep erasing yourself for a world that barely notices you? Or will you have the courage and the kindness to come back to yourself? If this message stirred something inside you, drop a comment below. What part of yourself is asking to be reclaimed? I'd love to hear your story. And if you feel, even just a little, that this journey is just beginning, then make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because in the next videos, we're going even deeper. Step by step, choice by choice, we're rebuilding a life that's truly yours. Because here's the truth. The only person who can save you is you.